Welcome back to the show. This is Right Wing Rico. Now, just like the rest of you for the most part, I grew up here in the United States for the majority of my life. In my entire life, I've watched people be arrested, go to court. I've watched judges hand down sentences for my entire life. Now, all of a sudden, judges do not want to put people in jail. Judges want people to go free. And now judges are literally turning against our own law enforcement. Why? Because these judges are ideologues. They are judging based on ideology and not based on the law. And they know that the people that are being arrested and deported right now are their voters. This is how they maintain power. This is how they dilute our vote. This is how they disenfranchise Americans and remove our democracy is by flooding in the market with voters who basically owe their entire lives to the Democrats. They are getting paid thousands a month in cash, plus free food, EBT benefits. That's the reason why we're right in a lockdown. That's why the government is shut down currently to stop those benefits. See, those benefits work as a magnet. When USAID was sending those money to other countries, they were saying it was for gender studies to for transgender hamsters that are scuba divers, but really they were setting up NGOs that would recruit employees in other parts of the world, and their job was to come and sit in the United States so that they can increase the voter rolls for congressional maps, but also so that they can illegally vote in elections. And if there's not an audit, they would slide through. So they were bringing in their own voters to replace Americans who would not vote for them. The laws will be enforced regardless. I just cannot believe I've never seen this. Judges are now speaking law enforcement. Now you care when they were black drug dealers, when they were white scammers, when they were Asian kung fu killers. No judges came in there and said, "Oh no, we can't prosecute, we can't do anything." I've been watching Americans go to jail my entire life. Do they scream? Do people run up with cameras all the time and yell at law enforcement? No. But magically, all of a sudden, because they want their voter class of brown immigrants to be above the law. The law must be applied equally to all people in the United States, regardless of color. The laws are being enforced. The laws that have already been on the books, these are not new laws. I hate this. I cannot stand seeing people try to convince me that other people who are new to this country should be above the law. Basically, the law enforcement and laws should turn off for them, but yet still be enforced upon me. My tax dollars from capitalism being generated should go towards funding their communist utopia where they just get to stay home, have kids, and I fund their lifestyle. One thing about me, I don't pay for food for women that I'm not sleeping with. I don't care if you're an illegal or not. I'm not doing it. Those days have to be done. Now, Elon Musk let us know yesterday that that's what's causing the shutdown. These people, if they're not paid to be here in the United States, they don't want to be here. They didn't come here because this is a bastion of freedom. They came here because they were paid to a bribe. After 2 or 3 months of not getting a check, these illegals will leave the country. So we have to stay the course. But this is what we're up against. Take a listen.
Some powerful moments in court today. A federal judge just placed strict restrictions on immigration agents and their use of force here in Chicago. Now, before that ruling, the judge read a famous poem by Carl Sandburg. Then she took federal officials to task for use of force, she said, shocks the conscience, and stepped on the rights of protesters. Investigative reporter Bennett Haberle here now with the details of today's ruling by Judge Sarah Ellis. Bennett?
Yes.
Get your protesters out of the fucking way. Your protesters have no business blocking in law enforcement, impeding law enforcement, stopping law enforcement, or aiding and abetting the escape of illegal criminals. By just being here in the United States, they are elite. They are breaking the law. The same laws that are applied to me must be applied to them also. I don't do double standards. I don't want to hear all this crying. Blah, blah, blah. The law will still be enforced. You are not going to shame me into thinking that the laws should not be applied to these people, but it does still apply to me just because you say so. Go to hell.
Stefan, we've been talking about this case a lot, and this ruling really stems from a lawsuit filed last month by a group who alleged that the federal agents' use of force has been excessive and infringed on their constitutional rights. They are claiming victory tonight, though, after that judge's ruling that put strict guardrails on what federal agents can do and can't do when it comes to crowd control. Federal Judge Sarah Ellis began Thursday's hearing by reciting author Carl Sandburg's poem Chicago, which acknowledges the city's grit and its pride. She then
So until now, never in her career as a judge has she ever decided to read a poem when sentencing anyone or when litigating. This is all new. When it came to prosecuting Americans, no poem, no haikus, no rap lyrics, nothing. Just a sentence that's within the guidelines of the law. Now she wants to break the law because she is a part of an army, a communist takeover here in the United States, organized and pushed by globalists. And they want us to basically turn off our Constitution just to stop their tears. We are not doing that.
pivoted to say that the federal government would have people believe instead that Chicagoland is full of violence, attacked by agitators. That simply is untrue. She added the government's evidence belies that assertion. In issuing the preliminary injunction that now bars federal agents from using tear gas or pepper balls against protesters or journalists unless there's an imminent threat, Ellis cited several examples over the past several weeks that
you as a judge sitting in your fucking courtroom, you do not get to decide what is or is not an imminent threat. The law enforcement officers that are on the ground, ICE agents, federal agents, PD, they are the ones who make that determination because it's their life that's in danger. Hindsight is 2020. Later on, you might decide maybe there's nothing you can tell me at the time because you want me to gamble with my life. I'm not doing it. You want me to risk it by letting these people come together and form a mob around me, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls out a gun. So you wanted to get that far, you wanted to get that close before I react, while you sit there on your bench with your robe, pushing for this takeover because you hate the United States and you no longer believe in our Constitution. You want a multicultural democracy. You no longer want to be a part of a constitutional republic. Instead of going to war with us, why don't you just pick another country and relocate and stay alive? Why would you want to go to war with us? Why are you fighting so hard? There are other countries out there. There are communist, socialist nations. Relocate. But thinking you're going to take everything that was built here in the United States by our ancestors is a failure. That's not going to happen. That's why we turned off the waterworks. Everything you're seeing right now on the news is to manipulate you into being afraid and to being sympathetic and saying, no, let's reopen the government. Do you know what happens when they reopen the government? They're sending hundreds of billions to other countries so that they can pay people to come here to dilute your vote. If they bring in more to third world from Africa and the Middle East, then your vote doesn't count. Each and every one that comes over here, it neutralizes your vote. So the same thing happened in France, Amsterdam, Germany. You see what's going on in London. I've lived in all these places. I've been there. I was there in 2014 when I was watching it happen. I remember seeing it happen in Sweden. And I was like, when did I get to Atlanta? I thought I was in Europe. I was not. We can't let this go. We have to stay the course. Trump's not perfect, but he's doing the right thing. We're not reopening a goddamn thing. We are going to keep sending these people back where they're from.
challenged the federal government's credibility. Specifically, agents' use of force reports that reference threats. Ellis said those reports didn't match the video evidence, specifically pointing to Albany Park on October 12th, where she said agents alleged that a bike was thrown at them. Ellis said it was the agents who threw the bike before arresting those nearby. In Little Village on October 23rd, where video shows Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino throwing tear gas, he later said the use of chemicals was justified because he'd been hit by a rock. But the plaintiff's attorneys challenged that, saying Bovino later admitted it didn't occur that way. Ellis took note, saying more tellingly, Bavino admitted that he lied about whether a rock hit him before he deployed tear gas in Little Village. Videos of what happened in Little Village do not match up with the agent's descriptions. As Ellis was issued.
So we're going to just ignore the mobs of fucking people screaming and throwing shit. And you want to talk to me about a bike? You want to talk to me about a one-off incident, 100 incidents. And you want to talk to me about one? You tell this judge I said to go to hell. A judge is not more powerful than a president. We have checks and balances, but you know your place. We didn't elect you to lead our country. We elected him, and he will have my support. Period. We cannot let these people literally. This is a takeover. This is an invasion. You've been to Minneapolis lately? Have you been to any of these places? Have you been to Chicago? Have you been to LA? Have you been to New York? There were more illegals. There are more immigrants that voted in the election than Americans. They're setting up beachheads in our country. These are the same globalists that just use the third world, the Middle East and Africa, and to invade Europe. The third world that they control, the globalists control these people. They're doing the same in the United States. They control them. They're funding it. And you think we should you don't understand what's happening because you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're letting people shame you into submission. You have to get yourself together. You got to keep your wits.
During her ruling Thursday, Bavino and agents were spotted out again in Little Village. The judge also took issue with Bavino's marks during a video deposition in which he was asked about an arrest that took place outside the ICE processing center in Broadview.
When you tackled Scott Blackburn, as shown in the video marked for identification as Exhibit 8, that use of force on your part was more than exemplary?
Objective form lacks foundation.
As we talked earlier, that was not a reportable use of force.
Not a use of
placed
force.
him in under arrest. I didn't tackle him. I placed him under arrest.
Ellis said in court that the uses of force shocked the conscience and infringed on the plaintiff's constitutional rights. A court victory celebrated by the group that brought the lawsuit.
The government has this narrative that they're putting out in sign bites and on Fox News that, oh, criminality, lawlessness, riots in the street. It's just not true.
In response, the Department of Homeland Security issued a lengthy statement saying, quote, "This injunction is an extreme act by an activist judge that risks the lives and livelihoods of law enforcement officers." And that DHS statement went on to say that these so-called rioters or terrorists or others have opened fire on law enforcement, rammed their vehicles, or destroyed government vehicles in the process. DHS, by the way, says they plan to appeal this decision. Stephan?
Like I said, it's all manipulation to get you to put your guard down and to magically not want to enforce the laws. This is another piece of propaganda that was sent to me. All that fucking screaming for what? For what? Because you're being arrested. And guess what? As an American, if I'm arrested, I go sit in a prison for years. As an illegal, when you're arrested, guess what you get? A free trip back home. This is damn near a civil infraction. Now, we told you to self-deport in January, in February, in March. You've had plenty of time to leave. Now you're forcing us to come take you. Why are you sitting here screaming? What do you expect her to do? What do you expect the public? You think people are going to come up and start attacking law enforcement just so you can run or get away? So you want these people to risk their lives attacking law enforcement to help you? And then when you see Americans being arrested, none of these people come out with cameras and try to stop the police. They're actually the ones who call the police on you when you're an American. These illegals will call the police on you. Now that they're being arrested, you want to put their cameras in their face so you can try to get a check, or so that you can try to use their sympathy against them and make sound bites. Newsflash, you're not getting paid. You're not going to be able to sue. You're wasting your time and you're embarrassing yourself. Take this arrest like a man. Go back home. Make wherever the fuck you're from great again. It just won't be here.
Fucking pussy ass bitches. The boss to someone with a knife.
Lady, you're the bitch. And if you had the balls, why don't you go up and swing? Prove that they're bitches. Show them that they're punks. Go take a swing. But you won't do it because you don't have the ovaries for it. You're sitting there talking shit to trying to convince others to do something that you don't even have the guts to do yourself, which is fucking pathetic. If you're feeling froggy, jump. Now, he knew the risk of coming over here to the United States illegally. They all do. They just don't give a shit because they don't have respect. They don't have any respect for you. They have no respect for our country. They have no respect for our laws, which is why they remain here and break the law. They refuse to learn the language. They don't want to assimilate. So that's why we'd rather get rid of them and bring in people from South Africa, for example. At least they want to be here. At least they cry when they become naturalized and they can recite the Star Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance. They want to be Americans. These people don't. They want to come here and drain our resources and send it back to where they're from, commit crimes and get away with it. And now that we're enforcing the laws, people want to scream and yell. Go to hell.
Señora, está bien.
His name is Adios. Call him Adios. Adios. First name, last name. He's the fuck out of here. And you know what, lady? If you're a real ally, if you're a real friend and you really care, why don't you go with him? Drive to the airport, find out where his home country is, fly there, and matter of fact, when he lands, be there to greet him. Get him on his feet, help him find a job, make wherever he's from great again. If you really care, if you're an ally. These people, you guys all pretend like the United States is the only country on earth. It isn't. You got 190 of them to choose from. There's no white people in all of them. There's no Trump. So you don't all those buzzwords of racism and supremacy, all that stuff that you complain about, it's by choice. You choose to live here, right? You choose to stay in the United States. You choose to be under this regime. Why don't you choose to go somewhere else better? Choose to escape persecution, racism, oppression. Escape it. Why are you volunteering to experience it? Why don't you go somewhere? You got 190 something different options. Go with them. Instead of making a fool of him and embarrassing him, watching him cry out like a little bitch for what? Because he got caught breaking the law. People get caught every day breaking the law, B. It happens. Share the video, right-wing Rico. Keep your guards up. America first, America only. I'll be back shortly with another video.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.